Welcome, fans. We're back once again with episode number 5 of Headed to Headbangers Ball Finger Lakes Extreme Wrestling. My name is Jack Kilby, no gimmicks guy on the socials. I'm very pleased today to have a talent on that is attracting attention on the independent circuit. He's a relative newcomer, but man, what a load of potential as he showed in the first Flex event in the beginning in that tremendous scramble match. But now he's out, I would say, he's got to redeem himself somewhat and has a point to prove against his opponent, the Hope Dealer, Siren Rain. We'll get into all that good stuff, talking about December the 6th at the Mud Creek Bison Ranch, Savona, New York. And I would be talking about today none other than the man known as the Bald Eagle Colt Allen. Colt, thanks for coming on today.
Hi, Jack. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Excellent. I guess it's a good place to start when we're looking at a retrospective of a career to ask about growing up. Were you a fan of the business, and what really inspired you to pursue this industry?
Oh yeah, totally. I was a fan since I was very, very young. Me and my dad had gone to a racing event actually, and I don't know. I want to say maybe 9 or 10 years old, and just on the way out, this guy was giving out free stuff, and he just happened to, hey kid, come here, and and I ran over, and he gave me this backpack, and in there was a Triple H DVD and a ladder match DVD, and the first one I put in was the ladder match DVD. So the first match I ever first introduction I had ever had to like pro wrestling was, like the TLC matches with Edge Christian, Dudley's, Hardy's, so like the car crash stuff, and that was like, oh my god, this is a thing. And then I started watching the Triple H DVD, and that's kind of when I started to appreciate not just the car crash stuff, but wrestling itself. And my mom didn't know it. She was a Hulk Hogan fan her entire childhood. So when she realized, oh my God, now you like wrestling, now we're going to watch Monday Night Raw. They have this every Monday. And I've been watching ever since. I'm a big fan. And it's always something like everybody says, it's something, it's a dream you think of, something you love as a child, but you think I could never, ever actually do that. Well, here I am.
Awesome. Was there a lot of fans, have a love for the business and are super fans, et cetera, but it's another level to decide, you know what, I want to do this myself. What was that moment for you, that light bulb kind of moment, as some people describe it?
I guess that's hard to pinpoint. I can pinpoint the exact night, but I don't know exactly what it is in my brain that said, this is what I have to do. This is what I have to go for right now. I remember a very good friend of mine was performing at a show in Horseheads actually. And that's 20 minutes from where I live. And I just happened to see it on my phone. I said, you know what, I have to go. It was $20. And right outside the wall, right outside the door on the wall there was the sign for Professional Wrestling School, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, trained by H.C. Loke. So there was not only my introduction to the wrestling business, but my introduction to H.C. Loke as well.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of, training, Loke is, a man who's, done it all in the industry. He's been around for, a number of years now. So you couldn't ask for, a more solid foundation in training. But can you go into some detail as to what that looked like for you? Did you have any expectations going in, like, holy cow, I'm going to have to do 5,000 Hindu squats or whatnot? Like, how did your expectations meet or merge with your actual process under Loke?
So I think it's kind of like I had said earlier, like when you're a kid and you watch this stuff on TV, like it's one of those things where, wow, these guys are professionals, and it's something that I see on TV and I could never do it myself. It's kind of like the fear. You walk in and you think, wow, there's no way I can keep up with these guys that have been doing this all this time. And taking all these moves, giving these slams, doing so well. I was not in very good shape. I've lost a lot of weight in this whole year and a half now since I've started. I've come a long way physically. So yeah, first day walking in, that was a very scary experience. But not only HC Loke, but his entire staff that he has. Everybody was so welcoming and so nurturing in that very early stage that it made it so easy for me to, I'd like to think I've acclimated really, really quickly to our business for a new student. I've seen a lot of people accelerate higher, but I'm also very proud of the progress that I've made in the last year and a half. I think it really just came down to, yeah, absolutely. Terrified. I have no idea how I can do this. It was just a matter of, this is what I want to someday be able to do. I have to stick with it. And if I stick with it long enough, I have such a great support system with everybody around me. There's no way I could fail as long as I keep trying.
Mm-hmm. What, it's one thing to be able to do the moves in the ring and be in shape. There's no stress on your body as in wrestling, right? So it's one thing to get those elements down. But one of the things I noticed in doing my research for this is you've got a real affinity for the verbal side of it. I've listened to a couple of your promos, and you really have a unique style in that you really come across and get your message there, and it gets people's attention. Was that a side of it something that came to you as a natural affinity, and also in speaking of your match in the beginning, you seem to, for a guy who's breaking in, you've got a good grasp on crowd psychology. I was in the audience for that event, and I noticed when you were doing your thing, the crowd were paying attention. So the promo aspect and then the psychology aspect, I'd like your comment on, please.
Well, first of all, thank you. I appreciate that. I think, I guess it's hard to, like, I've always been kind of like a movie and TV buff. So like, I've always watched a lot of movies, watched a lot of television. So I've always kind of I don't want to say like been good at it, but I've always kind of had like, I've always kind of understood like just cinematic timing and things like that. So it wasn't necessarily something I had to learn for the first time when I came to wrestling school. It was kind of something I had a very light grasp on in my head, at least just from all the experience that I had seen. But one of the things, obviously we drill and we train hard and we worked very, very hard in training, especially under HC Loke. But one of the biggest keys that HC Loke preaches in his training classes would be exactly the things that you just said: talking, psychology. What sets you apart from just every other guy that can hit a body slam and put a headlock on? What is the difference? What do you bring to the table for every promotion that's different than just another big man? So that was a big focus for me from day one. I've always really tried to, still working on promos. I'm glad you think that, I appreciate that you think that, that they're coming along well. I can feel the growth. I can feel that they're getting, I'm getting stronger in that aspect. But as far as psychology and timing wise, I feel that that's something I don't want to say grasped and understood from day one, but it was something that was kind of with me, and through his nurturing, I think that's only gotten stronger.
Mm-hmm. Your moniker, the Bald Eagle, is unique. It reminds me in a lot of ways in a kind of a throwback sort of persona, and wanted to ask you, how did you? I mean, aside from the obvious, how did you come up with that, and what does that mean to your your persona, your presentation?
I'm glad that you used the kind of like throwback old school, because that's exactly what I've always appealed to. When I go back to study wrestling or to watch wrestling just for fun, whether it's, whether it's film study or whether I'm just laying in bed having fun watching something. It's usually, oddly enough, older. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm 25 years old, so I grew up on people like the Hardys and John Cena and those. So I love watching that era. Don't get me wrong, love it. But I love the territory era, the early 80s, kind of before the rise of like the WWF, before that, right in that era. One of my biggest inspirations, one of my biggest inspirations, I've said this before, I'll say it again, is Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Especially when he was in the Mid-South era in the early 80s, Mid-South area in the early 80s. I take a lot of inspiration from him. I loved his character. I loved his demeanor. I loved everything about him, and also a little bit of just a personal connection. He's from Glens Falls. My dad was born 15, 20 minutes from Glens Falls. So kind of just like a local hero to me too. So.
Well, certainly an excellent Hall of Famer to take inspiration from. Since breaking in, you've applied your trade in a number of companies and promotions in the New York State area. What a hot scene that is. Out there grinding, paying your dues. What are some of the biggest challenges of being an independent guy, do you find, and what are some of the rewards if you had to boil it down?
Yeah, so as far as challenges, I mean, that's just like you said, paying your dues. I mean, these problems that I'm going through are something that wrestlers have gone, these are challenges wrestlers before me have gone through for decades. So I'm not experiencing anything new, I don't think, but they're exactly what you said. They're challenges. It's hard things to go through. Stuff like the miles on the cars, the sleepless, I don't want to say sleepless, but the 2-3 hours of sleep before going into work at 7 a.m. There's a lot of sacrifices on the body. It's hard on my body, training, all these things, but that's what it takes. And if you want to say that you want it as much as, I talk a lot about how I want this to be my life. And I feel that if I want to say those things about how I want this to be my life, well, then I have to act a certain way too. I have to, you know what I mean? I can't talk the talk without walking the walk, so to say. So definitely it's a challenge. It's hard. There's a lot of miles. It's not an easy life. It's not an easy thing. This is the hardest thing that I've ever had to do or I've ever imagined that I would ever have to do. But again, you talk about the rewards. Lately, I've been taking a lot of travels up north to some of the other promotions that I haven't been working for. Again, like I'm very new, still trying to break into a lot of areas, starting to get some pre-show matches, starting to get some singles matches just on the early spots in the card. And that's the reward right now. I may not be making money. I may not be making $1 million in the WWE right now, but what I'm doing right now, I feel growth every weekend. I walk away from every weekend feeling happy. I'm just grateful that I get to do this, and I can see the growth. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely. What was one of the I guess the correct term is misconceptions that you had before you started working to actually be working about the business that you've since clarified?
Biggest misconception, I think, would just be the fact that I don't want to, how do I say this properly? Like, you have to definitely, to step into a wrestling ring, you have to be a very set level. Like, you have to be an athletic person. You have to have a certain amount of cardio. You have to be strong. You have to be able to physically support another man's or woman's weight. You have to be able to physically support another person's weight. Their life is in your hands. So you can't just not be in shape. You have to exercise outside. You have to make sure that you get the point. I think the biggest misconception that I had was that I had to be the beautiful body Hulk Hogan, and I'm working on that. Don't get me wrong. I'm in the gym every single day, working very, very. I've lost 80 pounds probably, about 70 pounds, since started training a year and a half ago. So I'm working on it. Yeah, I can, like I say, every weekend you feel the progress. biggest misconception, I think, is that to at least break in, to start training, to have matches, to get to a point where you can, it's no secret. Look at me. I'm not the most beautiful body. I don't have 6-pack abs. I can't flip off the top rope and do some of the insane, most athletic moves, but I can hit really hard. I can be mean when I have to. And like you said, I love this business. I think I understand this business. I'm understanding this business more every single weekend. And I think that was my biggest misconception, was the physical aspect of it. Me just not having the belief in myself that I can physically do it, when yes, I can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's one thing to conceptualize taking a bump, and it's a whole other to actually bump. 100%. You've, because the scene is so strong in New York State or the territory, you've shared cards with some really incredible veteran talent. In addition to Loke, a guy like Sean Carr, who's done it all again in the business and knows it very well. What's the best advice? Not necessarily from Sean, but from a veteran or veterans that you've received in that locker room. You strike me as the type of young guy who wouldn't be opposed to picking veteran brains in the locker room and asking their advice. Is that correct?
Absolutely. That's another staple of just HC Loke's teaching. Like, you have to pick as much knowledge as you can. Absolutely. Been in the locker room with a lot of really knowledgeable veterans over my time. Absolutely. I don't know if I can necessarily name exactly one specific instance. I do remember, actually, I do always go back to this one instance. I took a fantastic seminar. It was like a 5-hour seminar with Simon Gotch down in Philadelphia. And I walked away with so much knowledge from that seminar, not only just about moves, but just character-wise, marketability, things like that. I don't know if there's been a certain, I'm struggling to think of a certain exact message off the top of my head that's been, I would just say the biggest message came not necessarily from one of those veterans, but from HC Loke himself, of making sure when you have a veteran like that who's talking to you, make sure you're listening. Mouth shut and your ears are open. You're picking their brain. So I think that's probably the biggest piece of advice, because there's so many different pieces of information. Every time a new veteran watches one of your matches, sees a spot that you did, watches a promo, hears something that you said, it's a new piece of advice, and it's all just as valuable as the other. So I think the biggest piece of advice, the most important piece of advice, came from Loke himself, is just to make sure you're listening to everything, taking it all in.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk now about Flex. How did you come to be involved in the company, and what are your goals just in general with Flex? We're going to talk in a minute about the Fatal 4-Way on December the 6th. There's going to be a new first inaugural Flex Heavyweight World Champion crowned, and I'm sure that's got to be in your future aspirations, but just in general, where do you see yourself fitting in Flex?
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, the first part, I guess, of that question you asked, kind of how did I find myself fitting in? Well, like we had talked about earlier, I've been training under HC Loke, and it's no secret, he's the hometown hero. He's one of the big stars of the company. He's a big part of the behind the scenes aspect of this company. So I guess initially how I got involved was just, he knows me. He's I don't want to say that I deserve a spot more than anybody else, but I know in my heart that I've put a lot of work in over the last year and a half. I've put more work and more heart into this than I have anything else. And I like to think it's because he recognizes that. I don't mean to sound cocky. I don't mean to toot my own horn, but it's true. I've worked harder at this than I have at anything else. And I'm just grateful that somebody in a position like that was able to notice that. And as soon as this whole thing had kind of come about. We had found out about the Day One Flex show. He had messaged me and he told me that he wanted me to be a part of it, and I couldn't have been more honored. I'm grateful for all the he's kept. They've all been just so welcoming to me, keeping me in the loop of things that just are over my head. You know what I mean? As a young rookie in this business, they've treated me with more welcoming and open arms that I could have asked for in my position. But anyways, the next part of your question, what's on the horizon? What's in the future? What's in my, exactly what you said. I mean, that fatal four-way, we're going to be crowning a new champion. That's a huge deal. I want to, exactly there. You show it. Obviously not a part of this match right now, and that's okay. I've got my own opponent in Ciaran Rain. I've got some of my own business that I have to handle first. But after that's taken care of, I there's nothing more that I want. Not only to represent the company, not only to represent the area, but to represent myself as somebody who's worthy of being a champion.
Absolutely. Your match at in the beginning was that wildly entertaining scramble match. And again, just as a factual observation, sitting in the audience, man, the crowd was into that, and especially the sequences that you were part of as well. I mean, all the guys gave 100% effort. It was truly an entertaining match. What, however, went wrong for you in that match? Because it looked like at one point you're gonna walk away with it, and then things went south.
Yeah. I had I don't know if you remember exactly what happened. I still see it kind of every time I wake up. I remember I had Adon right there, hit him with the slam, and honestly, I guess I don't remember what happened. It all happened so fast. I'm out of the ring. I need to watch my back. I need, especially when that, it's no secret. I'm young. I'm a little immature in this business. I haven't learned everything. There's well, not including the guy I'm pinning, but there's 4 other guys behind me that I got to watch out for. It's not one on one. So I don't know. I feel like one on one. Yeah. I probably would have wrapped Adon up right there. But you gotta remember, there's 4 other guys in there with you. It's there's nothing I can do to go back and change that. I'd love to have another opportunity. I see that they're running another Stampede Scramble match. I hope that that's something that they continue to do. I'd love to have another opportunity in there someday. But to show that I learned from that opportunity, from that mistake, I should say. But I don't know exactly what went wrong there. But I know, again, talking about just the way that they've had my back through everything. HC Loke and everybody else at Flex Wrestling has had my back through this. They gave me another opportunity to make up for that with Ciaran.
Yeah, let's talk about that encounter. As you're aware, I interviewed Ciaran on one of these shows, and you know what? To be honest with you, he seems to have a problem with you in general, judging by his comments to date, almost resentful. How are you approaching this chance at redemption? And do you feel any extra pressure, like you just talked about, because it is another chance for you and the company to show that you're the real deal, and down the road, willing to be in the mix for the heavyweight championship?
Yeah. There's this is a big one for me. There's no secret. This is a big match. Ciaran is a much more established talent than I am. There's no secret. He's been all around the state. He's had a lot more important matches, a lot more important opponents, and just bigger situations to prove himself than I have. And that's okay. I respect Ciaran a lot. Another pupil under the HC Loke learning tree, a lot further along than I am, and that's all right. I respect him a lot. He's a person that gave me a lot of advice and a lot of knowledge when I first started. Another person, again, when I talk about helping and welcoming in, but I don't know what it is that's gone on in his brain in the last few months, where everything about him has become so negative. We used to be very, very close friends. I used to look up to him as almost like a coach. And all of a sudden, these last few months, he's turned his back on all of us, on everybody at Flex. At the last show against Pat, I know he didn't really end up. I know things didn't go his way, and that's okay. Pat is a really, really good opponent. Pat is an amazing opponent. But I don't understand why he needs to take such you're right. You had him on the last show, and I listened. I heard everything that he said, and I didn't understand all the personal attacks it felt.
Mm-hmm. So in terms of, that animosity, are you feeling like this is a do or die situation for you and the company? And does that kind of make the stakes all that higher for you and the pressure more intense?
And that's just it. That's exactly what you just said. Unfortunately, as much as I want to be sympathetic to him and I want to reach out and figure out what it is that I can do to try to help him, there's a bigger picture for me at stake. We just talked about, there are championships to be won. There are matches to be won. My hand needs to be raised. I want to help him. I want to try to do what I can to do the right thing for him. But at the end of the day, business is business, and we have a wrestling match on December 6th. And I can't let my personal feelings get in the way of the business that needs to be done.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely, a good perspective, and it's going to be one that a lot of people are going to definitely have their eyes on, because both yourself and Siren are, expressing a desire to be in the mix for this, the
Right.
first Flex Heavyweight World Champion. You've got Maddock, you've got Sean Carr, the legend HC Loke, and Shale Connors, of course, he's favored. Who do you have in this match? Who's your money on if you're a betting individual?
Well, I don't want to say I know, but it seems pretty obvious to me that the future. Listen, I have all the belief in myself, and I know that I am the future. But as far as everybody in that match, the future of what we see is Chael Connors. I mean, there's no doubt. However, I don't know if he's at that level yet. Not that I'm somebody who can judge based on my experience, but I don't know. I have a hard time going against picking HC Loke on anything, so I'm going to have to go with the original OG HC Loke.
Mm-hmm. Solid choice, and man, it's a toss-up. Who could come out in this really epic and historic match? But it's not the only great match on this card. You've got Ricky Morton and Kerry Morton. They will be in action. You've got Headbanger Thrasher in action. So many great matches, and one that I'm of course interested in. ECW original Angel Medina, managed by myself, against Big Daddy Derek Roy. There's a score to be settled there, and it's going to happen. It's going to be a war, but man, oh man, everything will be decided for the future of the company. The first champion on December the 6th. Go to flexwrestling.com, get those tickets, because they're moving very, very quickly, and you don't want to miss out. But what outside of the ring, Mr. Allen, do you think the fans would not know about you that they would find interesting? Do you have any particular hobbies or interests that would be perhaps surprising to the fans?
I don't know if it's necessarily surprising. I think people have kind of gotten the idea of me that I like fun. I like to have fun, and I like being a happy guy. one of my biggest passions is animals. I love taking care of animals. I work at an animal shelter. That's a huge passion in my life for sure. But also, I love absolutely here. You know what? One of my other biggest passions in the world. Unfortunately, sometimes this has been a little damning in my life, but this is one of my other biggest passions in the world. Go Bills.
Of course.
So there you go. As far as outside of wrestling passions, those are probably the two biggest ones.
Yeah. I can understand that, being a Bills fan myself. In terms of the future in broad strokes terms, what's next for you? Do you have any dream matches, opponents, or big picture goals? You're a young guy still. You got all the time in the world, just starting out. But if you had to look at what is your ultimate goal or goals in the business, what would that be?
This not to keep bringing his name up, but I heard this right from the mouth of HC Logan. I don't think he's ever said anything more that resonated with me personally than what his definition of success in the wrestling business was. And there is 1,001 different definitions of success in the wrestling business. And I think I have the same exact definition of success. I know for a fact that I'm going to dedicate the rest of my life to this. I know for a fact that that's what I'm going to do. I don't know for certain if I will main event a WrestleMania one day. That is the ultimate goal, obviously. Who doesn't get into the wrestling business with the goal to say, I'm going to main event WrestleMania and I'm going to hold up the WWE World Heavyweight Championship one day, right? Everybody says that. Unfortunately, that just doesn't. I'm realistic to understand that that's okay. If I don't, I can work as hard as I possibly can and do all the right things. And someday I may not main event to WrestleMania. I think my definition of success is getting by, paying my bills, using this job, using this not only as a career, as a way to provide for myself, as a way to provide for my family while having fun. This is the most fun job. Most fun thing that I've ever done. And they say that if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. Right. We've all heard that, but it's the truth. If there's a way where I can just make this my life, my income, every weekend I'm traveling, every weekend I'm on the road, I'm around fans, I'm around my greatest friends in the world in the locker rooms. That to me is the definition of success in wrestling. So obviously my goal is to one day hold the championship in WWE at the main event of WrestleMania. But if I just get by being Colt Allen and living a happy life as a wrestler for the rest of the time I have on this planet, then I'm perfectly okay with that too.
Well, you're certainly off to a good start. And again, your match on December the 6th will be a very important one from a number of perspectives, notwithstanding your future. But again, finding that redemption and making a statement. Where can all the fans find you on the social media gimmicks and any websites, all that good stuff?
So Facebook is pretty much the only thing that I have that's different. It's just Colt Allen. If you look up Colt Allen, you'll see my nice bald head and mustache. You'll know it's me. Go ahead and send me a friend request, follow me, all that good stuff. Everything else, every other thing that has the @ symbol in front of it, it's always Bald Eagle Colt Allen. So whether that's Instagram, TikTok, not Facebook, YouTube, blah, blah, blah. Even my link tree is Bald Eagle Colt Allen. Everything else I have, even if you want to book me, Bald Eagle Colt Allen, Gmail. Everything is Bald Eagle Colt Allen. So if you ever need to find me, it's Bald Eagle Colt Allen.
Awesome. Well, I'll say it one last time, fans. You're going to want to get those tickets at flexwrestling.com because take a look at the crowd and all the happy folks that were there for in the beginning. The crowd was hot. It was an electric atmosphere, and this is going to be no different with history being made. Grab those tickets at flexwrestling.com. wrestling.com. Colt, I want to thank you so much for making the time today. And again, best of luck on December the 6th. Looking forward to your match.
Thank you very much. I'm very glad that you took some time to have. I'm glad you asked me. I'm glad you took the time to give me some time on your show. So I very much appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
Well, fans, that's it for this edition of Headed to Headbangers Ball. We're going to do several more in this series, so make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Stay on top of everything that's going on with Flex Wrestling at flexwrestling.com, and be sure, again, to get those tickets. Thank you for watching this video. Please give it a like if you enjoyed it. Be sure to follow us on all social media platforms at Cheap Heat Productions. Don't forget to hit the notification button, and you won't miss any of our upcoming